Hey guys, and welcome to a very special edition of The Running Homesteader. And in this video, I want to walk you through how to make homemade kombucha. I love kombucha, and it was an acquired taste, but once I did acquire it, I loved it, and it kind of became an expensive habit. Kombucha costs $4 a bottle, and having multiple bottles per week, that adds up. So I decided to make it myself, and it's really easy and it's super delicious. And I want to go through the steps so that you can make it yourself at home as well. Let's do it. Now, the first thing we need to do is add 7 cups of water to a pot. Then you want to bring that pot of water to a boil. So once the water is boiling, we will turn off the burner and remove the pot from the heat. Then we will add a ½ cup of sugar to the water and stir it in until the sugar is dissolved. Once the sugar has been dissolved into the water, then we add 4 black tea bags and we let that steep until the water is room temperature. Then we move on to the next step, so I'll see you in a couple hours. Okay, so the sweet tea that I made earlier, it is now room temperature and ready to work with. So I didn't really elaborate earlier, but we're in phase 1 of making homemade kombucha. And in phase 1, that's when we make the SCOBY. And the SCOBY is also known as the mother. And basically what that is the most important part of making kombucha. The SCOBY is what helps to ferment the sweet tea. It's like a combination of good bacteria and yeast, and you need it in order to make your own kombucha. So phase 1 of this process is making the mother. And what we need to do for that is take this sweetened black tea and combine it with some starter kombucha. And the starter kombucha is store-bought because we don't have any kombucha on hand to use. So we start with raw kombucha, unflavored. We definitely don't want to use flavored at this stage of the process. And the one that you want to buy is one that has a lot of floaters, and that indicates that this has a perfect balance of yeast and good bacteria, and both of those things are needed to kickstart this sweet tea so that it begins the fermentation process and can make its own mother. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so the sweet tea has been strained and put into this ½ gallon jar. And now the next step is to take 1 cup of this starter kombucha and pour that into the jar. Okay, so the last thing we need to do is cover the jar, not with a lid, but with some tightly woven cheesecloth and a rubber band. And now we place this into a cupboard or someplace that is dark and between 70 and 75 degrees. And we'll keep it there for 1 to 4 weeks. It really depends on how hot and cold that storage place is where you are keeping this. So really this is ready for phase 2, the first fermentation, after we've developed a mother. And the mother is ready for the next step when she's about 1/4 of an inch thick. So I'll come back and check on this a week from now and see where she is, and then move on from there. Okay, so this kombucha has been fermenting for a week, and that is the mother forming on top. So she's got a week to 2 weeks to go, but she's looking good so far. Good looking mother. Week 2. Hey guys, so I have made my SCOBY. I've made the mother. Here she is. She is looking beautiful. Oh, look at that baby. So now it's time for the first fermentation. Step 1, phase 1 was making the mother. Step 2 is fermentation number 1. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Let's do it. Step 1 of phase 2 is actually washing your hands extremely well. I read that you need to wash them like you are preparing for surgery because you don't want to get any bad bacteria into your booch because then you'll get sick. And instead of good gut health, you'll have very, very poor gut health or very poor health in general. So wash those hands. Okay, so then once your hands are washed, we need to move the mother onto a very clean plate. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to pop this lid off here. Take out the mother. Pop her on this plate. Now, you see that? 9. Oh, she's on that plate. Looks like a little pancake. Okay. So now I'm going to dump this out. This is the starter to make the mother. We don't need this. We don't want to drink this. So I'm going to dump it all out. And then I'll show you step 2 of phase 2. Okay, so this morning I made some more tea. And what's in here is 7 cups of water with a 1/2 cup of sugar. And then 4 tea bags. And some of those tea bags have to be black tea. So there's 2 black tea bags and 2 oolong tea bags. So now I'm going to dump this mixture, the sweetened tea, into this 1/2 gallon glass jar. Okay. Now I'm going to dump a full cup of unflavored store-bought booch into this. So this is the store-bought kombucha that we buy. It's unflavored and it has a lot of the floaters in it that we're looking for. It just helps the mother to do the fermentation of this first batch. So you want it to be as gritty and full of floaters as possible. So dump the 1/2 cup in here. And then we add the mother back in. And move her back in here. Then dry my hands off. Then I'm just going to cover this back up with cheesecloth and a rubber band. Okay. And that's it. That is everything that is needed for fermentation number 1. So what we want to do now is place this concoction into a dark cupboard or someplace that's dark that's also room temperature. Somewhere between 6 to 10 days. So on day 6, I'm going to put it in my calendar right now, on day 6, I'm going to get a straw and I'm going to take out just a little bit of this and taste it. And if it tastes mildly sweet and slightly vinegary, then it's ready. So I'm going to put this in a dark cupboard and I will see you again in 6 to 10 days. Hey guys, so I am ready to begin phase 3 of my kombucha fermentation. I put this concoction in the cupboard over 10 days ago, probably about 13 or 14 days ago. And it finally has that taste that you're looking for, which is slightly sweet and mildly vinegary. So I'm going to add the fermented tea to these bottles, and then this is a 16-ounce bottle, so I'll be adding 2 tablespoons of fruit juice to each 16-ounce bottle. It's 1 tablespoon per 1 cup of fermented tea. So that's what I'll be doing right now. So I filled it up to the bottom of the neck here, and that's so that I still have some room to add my fruit juice without the whole mixture bubbling over the top of the bottle. So I will add some fruit juice right now. I blended up some kiwi, and I've never done kiwi juice before, but all of the store-bought kombuchas that I really love all have kiwi in them as a main ingredient. So I bought some kiwis, blended those. I also have some fresh garden, not fresh, but frozen garden strawberries here that I'll be using the juice of as well. Okay, let's do it. So I like to use cheesecloth when adding fruit juice. I just try to add straight fruit juice and not the fruit. Yeah, so that's why I have this cheesecloth here. Made a little tag for it that I'll put on the bottle here. That way I know what flavor this was. So the cool thing about this is that now I can use this fermentation as my starter booch for my next batch that I make. And to do that, you want to leave about 2 cups of tea in the jar with the mother, and just put it in the fridge until you're ready. Or if you have tea ready to go, just do it right away. Make sure that the tea is room temperature and not hot, because hot water or hot tea will kill the mother. So you want to make your tea concoction that we did. You want to leave about 2 cups of tea in the jar as starter booch, and then add your tea to it, and then ferment again for another 6 to 10 or more days, depending on your climate. So since I have about 3 cups left, I have a smaller jar that I'm going to pour some booch into and then add my juice. And so I will have about 30 to 40 ounces of kombucha ready to carbonate. And it looks like I have a perfect 2 cups left in there as my starter. I don't have any tea ready to go, so I'm going to put the cheesecloth back on the top and put it in the fridge until I have some tea ready to go, maybe tomorrow, to start batch number 2. One thing that I did read as a tip for the first time that I bottled my own kombucha was that you need to figure out how quickly your bottles will become carbonated, because if they become over carbonated, you do run the risk of a bottle exploding in your cupboard, which would be a real mess and a nightmare, I'm sure, to clean up. So one pro tip is to, when you're bottling, also pour some into a plastic water bottle. Empty it out, fill it about 3/4 of the way with your kombucha and fruit juice mixture. Put the lid on it, store it with your bottles that you're carbonating in your cupboard, and when that bottle becomes rock hard, it's ready. So that'll tell you how many days you need in your climate with the fruit juice that you added to effectively carbonate. I've made my own kombucha 2 or 3 times now, so I know that it takes about 6 days to become fully carbonated. So today is, what day is it? Today's Wednesday. So next Tuesday, I will take these out of the cupboard and move them to the fridge. And then they're ready and I can drink them whenever. Hey, you guys. So we tried this kombucha that we made like 3 weeks ago and finally did fermentation number 2 and then moved it to the fridge, and we opened it the other day and it is magnificent. It's so tasty and wonderful and sweet and carbonated and really good tasting. Probably as good as anything I've ever bought at the store, if not better. So that's it. I hope you liked this video, and if you want to see more videos like it, please like and subscribe, and I hope to see you next time, either on the run or on the farm.